Donald Trump just had a terrible meltdown in the Oval Office during a press conference with the president of Poland. Donald Trump said, because we're having the most successful 8 months in American history, we should not be talking about the Epstein hoax. He says, everything you're seeing out there with the victims on Capitol Hill, it's all one big hoax. Talk about me, don't talk about them. Watch this. Let's play it.
I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from two people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax. When are you going to make a decision on your race, Mr. President?
Donald Trump continues to call the Epstein files, the Epstein case, the sex trafficking. He calls it all a hoax. He says it's a Democrat hoax. The victims are a hoax. Everything is irrelevant. Please stop talking about it, he says, while sitting next to the president of Poland. Here, play this clip.
There have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massie, who was sponsoring a discharge petition to get the House to vote on releasing those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president. Even if you look at D.C. right now, D.C.
And he continues and says, look, I've ended 7 wars. He didn't. I've ended 7 wars. Can I get credit for that? Stop talking about the Epstein hoax. He keeps on saying this during the presser. Here, play this clip.
All run by Democrats, or for the most part run by Democrats. So what they're trying to do with the Epstein hoax is get people to talk about that instead of speaking about the tremendous success like ending 7 wars. I ended 7 wars. Nobody's going to talk about because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever. I understand.
Okay, and then he's asked, well, you didn't stop the war in Ukraine from Russia's invasion. You promised you would do that in 24 hours. He goes, that's hard. That's hard stuff. I thought that it would be easy, but not easy. Here, play this clip.
I have a power to end things. That's why I was able to end 7 other wars. And you know that I thought of the 7, they're basically 7. Those are tough wars to end. Much tougher, I thought, than the war with Ukraine and Russia. I thought that Ukraine and Russia have a very good relationship with President Putin. I thought that that would be much easier. I thought that would be in the middle of the pack, maybe one of the easiest. Sometimes you never know with war. You know, war is a very interesting thing. You never know with war. War is complex and dangerous, and what a mess, what a bloody mess.
And again, how weak and pathetic do you look sitting there with the president of Poland and saying, I thought it was going to be easy. You thought it was going to be easy, you idiot? Well, you think it's going to be easy covering up the Epstein files by calling it a hoax? I mean, you're sitting next to the president of Poland covering up for a pedo sex trafficking ring where you know your name is all over these freaking files. What an embarrassment the United States of America is. Shame, shame, shame. Oh, and then Donald Trump goes and attacks California Governor Gavin Newsom, and he goes, he's so incompetent. Have you seen his hands? What's wrong with that guy's hands? You see the hand thing that he does? Here, play this clip.
And Newsom, this is a very incompetent guy. I watched him with the hands. I'm saying, what's going on with the hands? There's something wrong with him. Do you watch him? There's something wrong with this guy. But
dude, your hand is literally rotting. You have rotting hands. They're like blue and you cover them up. You put makeup on your hands, not to mention the accordion stupid stuff that you do with your hands all of the time. The ultimate projection right there. Oh, he's talking more about Epstein. He goes, oh, I understand that we were actually subpoenaed for the files, but we've turned over everything. There's nothing more to turn over, folks. We've given all the files. We're done. No, you're not. You haven't turned over the files. You quite literally have the White House covering up a pedo sex trafficking ring in plain sight helping out convicted sex traffickers like Ghislaine Maxwell and covering up for Donald Trump's other, powerful friends who are all over this list potentially? What the hell is going on here? Here, play this clip.
Nobody's going to talk about, because they're going to talk about the Epstein, whatever. I understand that we were subpoenaed to give files, and I understand we've given thousands of pages of files. And I know that no matter what you do, it's going to keep going. And I think it's enough, because I think we should talk about the greatness of our country and the success that we're having. I think we're probably having, according to what I read, even from two people in this room, we're having the most successful 8 months of any president ever. And that's what I want to talk about. That's what we should be talking about, not the Epstein hoax.
Oh, and then Donald Trump, weak, sickly, addled, cognitively done at this point. He goes, when it comes to Newsom, I put the fires out. He goes, like the reason that there were the fires in LA in January is because Newsom likes smelt. He likes the fish, and that there was no water in the reservoirs. So I turned on the faucet. From the California-Canadian border. Trump thinks that California is bordered by Canada. And I turned on the water, and I got that Northwest water in, and whoosh, I put out the fires. This guy is a deranged freaking lunatic. Just leave it at that. Play this clip.
But more importantly, he didn't allow the water to come from the Pacific Northwest. They have tremendous amounts of water in California. People don't know. They send the water out to the Pacific Ocean. So I demanded it be open. If that were open during the fire, before the fire, you wouldn't have had the fire, because all the sprinklers would have worked in the houses. They had no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants. You wouldn't have had the fires. It would have been put out after one house, two houses. But he stopped the water from coming in. And I had to send in the military to have that water opened after the fires. And now they have water, but he should have more, because they've restricted, they still restrict it. There's something wrong with these people. There's something really wrong.
Well, Governor Newsom's not going to leave it at that. He asks, do people with dementia repeat the same falsehoods and crazy conspiracies over and over again? And then the answer, of course, is yes. Just so you all know what Donald Trump did, after the fires in January in Los Angeles, I live in Los Angeles, were 100% contained, meaning no longer a threat, caused serious devastation. But after they were 100% contained, Donald Trump sent the Army Corps of Engineers to Northern California. California is a big state. So Northern to Southern California is kind of like the difference between like New York and Virginia, let's just say, okay? I'm estimating. And then Donald Trump emptied reservoirs in the farmland area in California onto the farms, which is nowhere connected to Southern California, and said, see, I put out the fires, harming the water supply for the farmers. And some of those farmers were Trump voters. And he goes, I put out the fire. And he had the Army Corps of Engineers sabotage the water supply in California. I mean, quite literally a maniac. In normal times, that by itself should be criminal, impeached, and he should be locked up for the rest of his life for doing that. And he does 100 things like that every day, this vile piece of trash that he is. And then Donald Trump continues to attack Newsom. He's like, Newsom, there wouldn't be the Olympics if it wasn't for me. Newsom should be saying thank you for me. Newsom, well, you little freaking baby bully you. How about when Gavin Newsom standing over you while you're still wearing your heels and shaking your hand, you cower like the little pathetic loser that you are. Play this clip.
I sort of want them to let it be known they have incompetent people. A guy like Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of a state that if we didn't go into Los Angeles with our soldiers, with our National Guard, you wouldn't even be having the Olympics there. They were going to take it. And remember this, your top law enforcement officer in Los Angeles said, there's no way we could have done this without President Trump coming in with the troops. We saved Los Angeles and we saved the Olympics. Thank you very much.
Ever have one of those days where you're juggling 1,000 things and by the time the sun goes down, the last thing you want is a hangover the next morning? Same here. That's why I've started reaching for Willie's THC-infused social tonic, because honestly, sometimes you just need to unwind without the regrets. For me, Willie's is the perfect weekday alcohol alternative. Whether I'm relaxing after a long day or trying to get into a creative zone, this is the one that actually works. Unlike some of those non-alcoholic drinks that promise a buzz but don't deliver, Willie's gives you an uplifting, euphoric feeling, and you feel it in about 15 minutes. Plus, it's made by the Willie Nelson, so of course it's got that chill, peaceful energy built in. It's low calorie, low sugar, comes in 5 milligram or 10 milligram doses, and that subtle tropical citrus flavor is perfect whether you sip it over ice or toss it in a mocktail. One shot of Willie's helps you relax, unwind, and de-stress. Perfect for taking the edge off at the end of a long day or socializing with friends, Willie's offers the kind of feeling that makes good company even better. Willie's sold out 3 times in the first 6 months with over 50,000 plus happy customers, and they just restocked. Willie's ships directly to your doorstep in over 40 states. Order now at drinkwillies.com and use code MEIDAS, MEIDAS, for 20% off your first order and free shipping on orders over $95, and enjoy life in the high country. That's drinkwillies.com, promo code MEIDAS, MEIDAS.
And then a reporter says, okay, well, you're saying that like all the DC restaurants are like bustling right now, when we know that the DC restaurants, a lot of them are not bustling and are empty, and some are not opened as long because they're trying to protect their own workers and they're worried about Trump's military patrolling. So you've never been to a restaurant in DC either, right? And Trump's like, how do you know? How do you know? Because I've been around you. I know you've never once showed up at any DC restaurant. I may prove you wrong. Here, play this clip.
Will you visit a restaurant in D.C.? You haven't gone to...
I might, sure.
You haven't gone to one in either of your terms that wasn't...
How do you know? How do you know?
Because I and many other...
Do you want me to prove you wrong? Do you want me to prove you wrong?
Yes, please.
But I will, I think it's something we could consider doing. I'd love to do it. I love the White House food, but after a while I can see going to a nice restaurant. It's safe.
Then Donald Trump talks about the big meeting between Xi Jinping, Putin, and Kim Jong-un. Also, the day before or so, you had the Prime Minister of India, Modi, who's livid and pissed and done with Donald Trump. America's destroyed its former alliance with India. India is now allying with China far more forcefully than ever. It's done with the U.S. So Donald Trump is asked, well, what do you think about that? That was a show of force right there. Does that concern you? What do you think Trump said? Give me 2 more weeks. I need 2 weeks. Here, play this clip.
We saw a dramatic picture where we saw the leaders of Russia and North Korea and China together. The first time the leaders of those 3 countries have been together in this sort of show of solidarity. You said that they're conspiring against the United States. What do you think they're conspiring to do? And given this, is it reason why you should slap or would consider slapping secondary sanctions on Russia if they're conspiring against the U.S. now?
Well, I've already done that with regard to India, and we're doing it with regard to other things. And I put out a truth last night. You saw that. And I was the one that brought it up. I said, they're only doing this. They're looking to, when they did what they did, I thought it was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was very, very impressive. But I understood the reason they were doing it, and they were hoping I was watching, and I was watching. My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or 2. I think that we helped China very much, as you know, when they talk about freedom. And I don't believe that, and maybe I'm wrong, I hope I'm wrong, but I don't believe that America, that the United States was acknowledged for helping China to gain its freedom. But perhaps that was just a sleight of hand. I mean, I was very surprised. I watched the speech last night. President Xi's a friend of mine, but I thought that the United States should have been mentioned last night during that speech because we helped China very, very much.
A reporter then asks Donald Trump, you've done no action when it comes to Putin. You say you express frustration, but there's no action. What are you doing? And then Donald Trump's like, where are you from? I think the reporter says, I'm from Poland. I'm a Polish reporter. How do you know there's no action? I don't know, maybe because in Poland, they're freaking right there by the border of Ukraine, and they can see what the hell is happening. Like Russia attacked an American-owned factory in Western Ukraine, and you did nothing. Russia attacked a UK building. They attacked a European Union building. They attempted to assassinate Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, by jamming her GPS signals on her plane. And you're like, oh, yeah, I would like for people to jam my GPS. Ha 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 ha. You idiot. You pathetic loser. I mean, just watching this loser there and just thinking about this being normalized. Not here on the MeidasTouch network, especially while that vile piece of trash covers up a pedo sex trafficking ring. Here, play this clip.
Do you think they should have been punished?
Go ahead.
You've expressed many times your frustration and disappointment with Putin, but there's no action since you took your office.
How do you know there's no action?
But
Really?
don't you worry-
Wait.
What-
Who are you with?
I'm with the Polish radio.
Okay. How do you know there's no action? Would you say that putting secondary sanctions on India, the largest purchaser outside of China, they're almost equal? Would you say there was no action? That cost hundreds of billions of dollars to Russia. You call that no action? And I haven't done phase 2 yet or phase 3. But when you say there's no action, I think you ought to get yourself a new job, because if you remember 2 weeks ago, I said, if India buys, India's got big problems, and that's what happened. So don't tell me about that. Go ahead.
And then a reporter asks him, so you gave Putin a 2-week deadline. So what are you doing with that 2-week deadline? Your 2-week deadline's always passed. Well, I'll have a meeting soon and I'll know. I'll get back to you on that one. Here, play this clip.
You gave Vladimir Putin a 2-week deadline to agree to talks with Volodymyr Zelensky. That deadline is now nearly approached. Can you give us any indication when you will make a decision?
Well, I'm having a conversation with him very shortly, and I'll know pretty much what we're going to be doing. We've taken very strong action, as you know, and in other ways we've taken very strong action. But I'll be speaking to him over the next few days, and we're going to see.
With whom, sir?
I'm going to know exactly what's happening.
Mr.
But
President,
I'm not happy with all the people. You got 7,819 people killed last week. Russian soldiers and Ukraine soldiers, right? Not American soldiers, not soldiers from Poland, but they're human beings. They're souls. They have parents.
And then finally, Donald Trump's asked, well, what are you doing to help Ukraine? What are you doing to support Ukraine? And he goes, well, we stopped giving Ukraine money. We stopped supporting them with money. So your view of supporting Ukraine is by not supporting Ukraine? So basically what you're saying is you wanted Ukraine to be fully conquered by Russia. That was your plan. But Ukraine is standing strong with this coalition of the willing allies in Europe. And that's what's really going down, huh? Here, play this clip.
Soldiers and Ukraine soldiers, right? Not American soldiers, not soldiers from Poland, but they're human beings. They're souls. They have parents. They wave goodbye to their parents, and their parents never see them again. That's the end of them. Over a stupid war. And I want to see it stopped. Now, we have stopped the money we send weapons to NATO. They pay full price. We don't, Biden spent $350 billion so stupidly. And it was one of the reasons that this whole thing happened. A big reason this war happened was sitting right in these chairs, this one in particular. So I will tell you that I think we're going to have a good solution. But they're losing soldiers at levels that nobody has seen since the Second World War. This is the worst conflict. And it's just going on and on. It's one's defense, one's offense. The offense moves a little bit, just a little bit. You take a look. They move inches.
Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. And thank you all for watching.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.meidastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.